shoes.
Yes, we're from the school NYFA. Welcome. I'm Ella. I'm your host, Ella.
My name is Dasha. And today we are doing a very long episode with you guys. And before we're gonna start, I just want to mention, I'm looking at myself, not in the camera. I just want to mention that we have GoFundMe lottery. So our club needs some funding for snacks during the shoot, for the equipment, for studio rent, for transportation, for a lot of things. We decided that we want to do a lottery. You can donate $5 and over and immediately participate, and the winner will be chosen randomly at the end of this summer, and this person will be our guest on the podcast.
Yeah,
sounds
so
pretty
if you
cool.
want to be a guest,
Yeah.
come on and donate. Beautiful.
Link is below.
So today, we're talking about history today. I just would like to start off by saying that the American education system for history has absolutely, it's atrocious.
Failed me.
It has failed me. I've learned more in 3 class periods for a history class than I have in 3 history classes at this school than I have
at NYFA?
at NYFA than I have in my entire life of history, and that's it's really disappointing.
So I know you didn't have like history classes, or you didn't take history classes at school?
Because I was in high school, we didn't have any, maybe in elementary school, I don't really remember. If so, it was, to elementary school. Middle school,
what do you
we did, but I remember in 8th grade, we spent 1 month at the end of history class learning how to tie ties.
History class?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Interesting. Maybe they forgot.
Like, the girls were taught how to tie ties on men, and the men were taught how to tie
For
ties
a
on
month?
themselves. For a month. That was like our
What was
final.
so hard about ties? You had to spend a month on it.
And then in high school, it was just like, it was during COVID, so everything was like divided up into quarters rather than one whole class, so I had like 2 months of history in all of high school.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So, what do you know for sure from history, from school history?
The Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler.
Not funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny. What else do I know
start.
about
4 minutes into the episode.
Cleopatra.
Okay. Very
Not like
weird
a lot about
lineup.
Cleopatra.
Very weird lineup.
JFK. And maybe like...
Very selective. Who was your teacher?
I don't remember the names. I really
It's
don't.
not gonna help me anyway, so
Yeah.
it was a rhetorical
And
question.
maybe the Wright brothers. Oh, and Amelia Earhart.
Who's Amelia Earhart?
She was the first woman to fly around the world, and then her plane was never found. She crashed and her plane was never found.
So...
But apparently they found her plane recently. I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not.
Okay.
But like as of very recently, like past few months, they think they found her plane. I don't know. But that's what I learned from history.
Okay. Yeah, and now we're at NYFA, and we have 2 semesters. We'll do in BFA.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 semesters of film history. Now they probably have 1 semester of film history, which makes sense. But I learned so much, and I was doing I had history classes in our school because in Slavic or like post-Soviet Union schools, I think in all schools, every person have the same curriculum. Like we learn history from the 5th grade. It's not that we can select it or not select it. We learn it all the time, like any other classes. Same with math and we learn everything the whole time at school. In this case, I know a lot about history, but at the same time, I don't know a lot because I was never a fan of history.
Sure.
But coming to NYFA, I've realized that to know acting, to know stuff, I need to know where it started. Mm-hmm. And film history classes with Ben Cohen, who was on our podcast, by the way. That's really cool to say. I feel nice about it. He is a great teacher, probably the best teacher that you would ever had for film history.
Absolutely.
And he taught us so much.
And in such an interesting fashion.
Absolutely, yeah.
And more than just the events that happened in history, but the impact that it had on film as an art form, and when things were introduced, and the way that I understand subliminal messaging that filmmakers use, how a shot is set up, when the 180 degree rule, crazy thing that didn't learn in any other class but learned in film history. Interesting.
Well, and also as actors, we don't learn a lot about like backstage and technical stuff. And film history helped in it, which is kind of weird. Why would film history? Whatever. And now, some time passed. A year ago, we started doing film history, and now we're doing history of theater.
Yes.
Which is
just a crazy class.
You know what? It's crazy because I just. Okay, so as a person who is not a fan of history, or never was a fan of history, I need to be engaged. I need to stay creative. I need to do stuff in order to like learn stuff.
Which so far has been the biggest plus of the history of theater class, because the assignments that we're given are based in what we're learning, and like we're expected to. Okay, so history started. Theater, started.
40,000 BC.
4,000 BC, which is incredibly difficult to comprehend.
I have my book. Actually, may have begun as early as 4,000 BC, when Egyptians, acts or priests worshipped the memory of the dead.
What is then was considered Africa, but is now like placement-wise we consider Egypt.
Well, Egypt is in Africa, so
real. But yeah, and so it started in ritualistic aspects. So our very first like assignment that we had for this class wasn't to like create a play or anything. It was to create a ritual. And we were talking about shaman influence. Yeah. And the purpose of theater was to reach the gods, was to reach nature. And what was the third one? There's one more.
I think that was like main things. Yeah. Nature and God. And like faith, spiritual, So yeah, we did rituals. I remember, ritual. I think it's very cool how people approach this assignment really differently, because you approach it with meditation and like with self-love and development. I approached it as like crazy dance and sound. And like, woo!
Yeah, but even in like, so we had to create these rituals. There were like 3 groups or whatever. We each brought them into class, and like the class, we did it as a group. And it was wild, our experience. It felt like we brought an energy into the space with us. Which I think, like, when I think about theater now, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but like mask work, when we were doing mask work, we were talking about this earlier, but like when you put on a mask, there's a ritualistic aspect to it. Like before you put on the mask, you want to try to shed yourself from yourself. And when that mask is on, you want to let the spirit of that mask come through you. And like that is now when theater is taught like very specific to mask work, but I think that kind of energy of like letting that a character come over you is just not as common, and it's not taught that way, but that's how theater used to be taught. And like I would love if we could get back into that, because the energy that we brought into that room when we were just practicing rituals was it was wild. Like we were pulling negative things out of us, and like the community, all of us were sharing like these very deep personal truths with each other.
Well, there is this idea that we all are gods, right, on this earth. Well, now there is this idea, so it makes sense that I'm the god talking to you, the god, on the same earth, because we're coming from the same source. And it's really cool because that's why people love, like, I saw this story recently about the guy who loves climbing, for example. And he's like, I'm doing this because it's a community. And that's why we all are doing what we're doing, because we're doing it for community. And people who are not socially aware, it's the wrong word, don't like social life a lot, it's really hard, I believe, for them to like gain this spiritual connection with the humanity and nature, because we like teaching each other, you know. And I love this assignment because, especially right now we are on our 5th semester. We all are kind of tired from each other, and I feel like
see each other every day for a year and a half.
Yeah, and it's for a year and a half already. It's crazy. And I really like how we reconnect with each other. It's really cool assignment. While you still learn about history of theater and you still learn about shaman stuff, it's a little bit still boring to me. Like, I'm not that much of interested in that. It's cool to know just for like general knowledge.
Cocktail party
literally
tidbits.
Yeah, but nothing else. Well,
it makes me happy to know that like the roots of this art form in general though comes from like a very
ages,
almost
like,
magical place.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why we're talking a lot, like with the episode with Logan, we were talking how acting and spirituality connect and make sense. Why? If it started from this
exploration of human behavior.
That's really cool. I just realized this. And then, like, we were talking about Africa. Hello. And we moved, like, in our history class, we moved to Greek theater almost immediately.
Yes.
And Greek theater takes huge part, obviously, in developing theater.
Absolutely. I think even if you're, like, not really keen on knowing a lot about theater or film or any of this, you know that. Like, you've heard about Greek theater.
Yeah.
It's where a lot of things were established. That's how story formed. That's where story form was established. Because stories were being written, and then Aristotle comes in, and Aristotle's like, hey, I'm going to make a thing called poetics. And then he establishes, like, what makes story. And that's also when, like, so it starts in this ritualistic place, but then it moves into wanting to exactly stories. It's like the three, there's legs of what theater was, and rituals where it started, and then it moved into storytelling.
Yeah, we were also asked, our teacher Dave Damke, he asked us what's the difference between ritual and storytelling. And it's still what you were talking about.
I just was the mammoth dance and all of that. But kind of I don't know what maybe you were just about to go into, like the difference between these two things. Sharing, like the reason that we needed storytelling was to pass along, like, survival information before we had things to write with consistently, before we had other ways to pass along. But as
a class we had to do mammoth dance. So we
woolly mammoth dance.
Yeah, we would have to come up with it's not maybe dance, but it's kind of choreography on stage without any words, and storytelling of how people hunt the mammoth. Right? Am I speaking?
I think that we took it that way, but I think, like, the assignment was just like make a woolly mammoth dance.
Maybe, yeah. But I think we came up with a really pretty cool idea. And again, this assignment put us together, and it was really cool to work on. It was really funny and fun.
And one of the first times, I think probably the only time so far, where we got to work together as a whole class.
Yeah.
Which was cool, too.
By the way, to create something like that. Yeah. So we moved to Greek theater. And you see, I feel like I'm talking about history, but I feel like I want to talk about how in Rome, they took slaves to play.
Yeah, let's talk about it. But that was
and die every time they played them.
I get confused about the timeline. I don't know why I have such, like, a hold on wanting to know the timeline of things.
Well, okay. So Greek theater started first,
and then Romans come in,
and then Romans. Okay, if you want to talk about Greek theater, Aristotle, he created like 8 blah blah blah, not 8 or 8. Was it 8?
Maybe 8. Somewhere around 8. Maybe
6,
7, maybe
8, something like that.
Do we want to say them?
Sure, you can say that. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT.
There's plot. There's characters, and these are, like, in order of what he views as most important to create a good story. Plot, character, diction is next, or thought is next. Diction, thought, spectacle.
It's not what I.
Is it only 5?
Plot, characters, diction, thought, spectacle, melody.
Oh, melody.
That's it. 6. 6. Okay. Yeah, because it's 7 or 8 of structure and styles in place. So yeah, and then in Greek, when Aristotle has this, they had this play that we read as well in dramatic literature class last semester, Lysistrata. And let's talk about how they really liked to fuck on stage. To talk about...
To bang on stage. They did. They like to talk about sex, and they like to talk about, like, kind of the joys of life.
Yeah.
Like
pleasure and stuff, like
and
any type
extreme
of
opposites
food,
of that too.
Yes, or like extreme violence, and everything was like obviously extreme. People were dying on stage while playing some of those things. But Lysistrata is really, it's really weird that we written this play at college, and weird for me just because I'm coming from post-Soviet Union country where sex is taboo for a lot of people, or like for people from older generations. And I feel like Lysistrata is about it's a play about how women wants to stop war by avoiding sex with male, and male was like, why, what the fuck, we really want to have you right now, so
not
we're
cool.
probably not cool, we probably
we're fighting
have to
for our country and you're not letting us
have sex,
put it in.
And usually when they would put that play on, they would have like a lot of phallic like costumes to really express everything that play was about. And it was a lot of they used really dirty words to talk about sex, talk about female, talk about male. Just overall, it was really kind of dirty, but it was still really like storytelling. It either was like, and also in Greek there was like a Dionysus, this festival, big Greek festival. Dionysus festival.
And Dionysus is the god of like partying, pretty much.
Really? I think
other things too, but like the god of like celebration and stuff.
I'm gonna tell you, probably, or no, I don't know. Well, okay. It was a Dionysus festival.
Sure, but yeah, celebrating, people coming together, drinking, eating mushrooms, probably watching plays that would last all day long.
Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility. Cool. Well, so probably party.
But yeah, but like they were celebrating these things. It's interesting to me that it started in such a expressive place. Like they went balls to the wall with wanting to tell these grand stories. And also now we can talk about like cathartic experiences too. This is where cathartic experiences come in. And so people watch these plays. They would go all day long. It would start with tragedies in the day.
Yeah, so it would trilogies.
Each tragedy was usually in a trilogy, and people would watch those, have a huge cathartic experience, and would be able to purge cathartic experiences. They wanted to build a place for people to release in community together. And now our community our idea of experiencing and purging is individual, and it's almost like shunned. Like you don't want to be. It's almost like we're seen as weak for having those experiences in public, or you're seen as like
definitely
or very brave for like. But it's not normalized. It's not like a normal thing to have.
It's either or.
It's wild that we started this theater started as huge, and then after they would have those cathartic experiences, they would go and they would laugh, and they would have very vulgar phallic costumes for satyrs. Satyrs are like a goat and a human mixed together, and then the spirit of the goat is what inspired satire plays, which were just incredibly vulgar and like almost past comedy. Like it's gross almost.
Yeah, it's not even dark humor. It's on the edge of like being gross and disgusting.
And like you wouldn't
for
even...
us now, because again our moral standards changed. You see, it's the same way we think about crying differently as they thought. Same thing, we're thinking about like sex and other stuff differently.
And even though like modern days now we talk about how we want to push society into being more open and free, but like how have we come so far backwards? Well, I guess we'll get into it.
I don't think we actually came backwards. I've listened to this podcast about violence, and people were like, do you think we became more violent from the past ages? And the truth is no, because people were not castrated, but probably as well.
Yeah, but castrated, beheaded.
Yeah, on like streets, in front of kids, in front of like people in general. The violence was like part of life. And right now, it's way different. We can be violent, but I guess our violence became more like... We have a lot of wars, obviously, and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like we started doing more moral violence because we started caring more about moral violence.
Because we don't need to as much.
Be violent, like physically, you mean?
Yeah, like physical violence before even the Greeks and any of this stuff. People needed to be violent. That was built in to survive.
Yeah.
And then I think it moved into a place where I don't want to say they needed to. That's a really strong word, but like like you think about what were they called when the Romans would like they would go and ride their chariots and fight each other to the death for fun. What was that called? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Where they would people would like brawl to the death, and like they'd be up in the stands cheering as like their form of entertainment.
I I love how in Ukraine this game was called Among Children, but
oh, excuse me.
on the playground. But
that type of like, we have so many other ways to entertain ourselves now, rather than it needing to get to that point. Like, it makes a little bit of sense to me why things were more violent back then, and to create
definitely.
like order among community. You need to be stoned in public if you do something wrong.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so tragedy, satire, and comedy was three main kind of genres of those of this Dionysus festival. And in the history of theater, we were doing this assignment that we had to take folk tale or like a tale from our childhood or moth speech, any basically story that doesn't have copyrights on them, if I'm not wrong, or something like that. That was the idea.
Yeah, something that's, yeah, I guess.
And create like a theater proposal out of this story. And later on we had to put it like, what if we would present this play in the Dionysus festival? So what characters we would do, what gods we would use, what themes, diction, thought, melody, blah blah blah, spectacle. And a lot of, by the way, in spectacle they would use masks and chorus. I'm actually, it's not from my knowledge, I just looked it up.
Could you pull up what the theaters used to look like?
Oh yeah, by the way.
They're interesting. Yeah, and like topic matter wise, for any of those three genres, it was always about like humans in relation to gods, or like royal humans, very high class humans. It was never just about like day to day meanderish stuff. Yeah, when you pull it up, I was surprised to see how advanced some of this technology was. Yeah,
Talking about this?
One of the skinies. With a skine. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe this even would be better. Yeah.
I have to pull up my themes for it.
So, I don't even know if we're gonna... Okay, yeah, we talked about, like, this in class, and they had, like, huge stage. How many people were sitting there? Like, 40,000 or something?
Thousands. Some huge number like that. The numbers don't...
Yeah, like, imagine a concert in Orlando. This is concert in Orlando. I was in Orlando for Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was like 40,000 people.
Huge.
And I couldn't see them, but they had like microphones, so of course I could hear them at least. They didn't have microphones. So people on the back would probably have sex or drink while like watching something. They would not even hear them. They would probably just see them. So if they just see them, of course they need masks, so they can at least focus on something. Huge masks, yes.
Huge masks.
In chorus, because they didn't have microphones, chorus would create this sound and stuff, so they like came up with this cool idea.
And in the picture that you're seeing, the chorus would be like in the bottom part, the furthest part down.
Yeah.
They'd be surrounding there, and they had I don't know the names from, but they had the mechanics to essentially like from a pit underneath raise actors up onto the stage. The technology
That would be here.
Shocking to me.
Like
how
the actor would like you see like my arrow, so the actor would come here in the building and appear on the roof. So for Greek, when was it, like long time ago? BC.
Long time BC.
Before Christ. That's insane. That's like crazy that they would come there. Yeah,
I don't understand.
And
how
he would
they
appear right
figured
here.
that out.
You see how small people were. Well, that's an actual size of people.
Live representation.
Yeah.
And they also the way that they would change scenery, because they didn't have the availability to have a lot of props or anything like that. There were essentially huge paintings on the second level. Is your arrow pointing at it?
This second level.
Yeah, like that second level. That would, I don't know how many they were able to have, but like the paintings would shift. So like if it was an outside scene, or if it was in a royal castle, or whatever it was, it would shift around.
Here probably.
And that's how they changed.
Actually, maybe there are
places.
like others. Oh, that's a good also picture. Well.
And all of the god figures would be held on the top part.
Yeah.
And they had the lever system, where like if they wanted to introduce a god character, they would like tie him to a rope and drop him in. I say him because I assume we didn't really talk about this, because like even in Shakespeare's time, which we haven't really gotten into in class yet, but just like my knowledge of Shakespeare, a lot of men were playing women. It was only men for a really long time. It was probably only men in Greek times too. We didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it, but there was like a article when I found this picture, and they're showing this I think it's men actually having masks on. But on the... No, I think women were playing as well. Well, the first actor that's like we talking, he was the first. Thespis was like the first actor who was man. So men are drama queens, not really women started acting. By the way. Yeah.
Oh, how things get twisted.
I think it's the same way right now. I think men really like drama.
I saw...
men really like to pretend they don't like drama, but as soon as Bridgerton are on TV, everyone is watching them as well.
None of the most dramatic.
And tell me I am wrong.
I have to see Bridgerton. I didn't.
Oh, ask any man they saw.
Yep. Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Greek theater. This story of the man who flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
They were using these stages to throw him off,
Icarus.
Icarus.
Icarus. Ikar in Russian or Ukrainian. Icarus. Ignored his father's instruction not to fly too close to the sun, causing the beeswax in his wings to melt. Icarus fell from the sky, plunged into the sea, and drowned. The myth gave rise to the idiom "fly too close to the sun." In some versions of the tale, Daedalus, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and Icarus escaped by ship.
No diddy.
So yeah, fly too close to the sun is basically you have so much ambitions that you don't. And also they say the higher you fly, the more painful
you have to fall.
Yeah, the more.
Is that an expression in Ukrainian Russian as well?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool that's like
because
an expression that has been transferred to multiple languages.
Well, because it's Greek myth. No, Roman myth. What is?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Okay, Greek mythology. Wikipedia says it's Greek mythology, which makes sense. I mean,
but so how they were telling the story? When they would wait, did they do this at the Dionysus festivals, or is when Roman?
I think it was in the Roman theater already. It's a Greek mythology, but obviously Roman took a lot from the Greek mythology.
Steelers.
So when they were performing this play, usually to play Icarus, how to pronounce this name? Icarus, the son who usually dies at the end, they would I wanted to say ask, but they would
they didn't ask, they told.
They told. It was a statement. Slaves or people who were not Catholics. Who were different religion to play Icarus. So by the end of the play, those people who were playing Icarus actually died every time they played it, for the spectacle and for catharsis again. I don't really know if they understood like the message like we understand it now, fly too close to the sun.
I feel like probably not. Or if they were just probably,
they were flying close to the sun with those ideas, so like real people dying, you know?
It's intense. Were they using those Greek theaters for that? And like using the Icarus character to fly on that thing down?
I don't really know.
That's how I would do it. I would kill people.
You would kill people?
No, I wouldn't.
It's
very
training.
intense though. Yeah, media training, that's funny. Really, really intense.
That's an article called "Why Did Icarus Fly Too Close to the Sun?" Why? You know, really funny. Make me laugh. Sorry.
Yeah, wild how many stories were born from the Greeks, though. Yeah, the Oedipus story. There's so many details. There's so many.
Can you
details
tell the Oedipus? Because I know the story, but it's hard for me to.
Yeah, I'll try my best. So, Oedipus's father and his wife have a child, and the gods tell Oedipus's father that his son is going to kill him one day. It's destiny that his son will kill him. And so they take the little baby Oedipus and they run him to the far hills to the middle of nowhere, and they leave him. And a shepherd or a farmer or a guy in the middle of nowhere finds Oedipus and raises him. And Oedipus grows up, and this middle part gets muddy for me, but pretty much he is valiant, and he finds his way to the city, and he becomes like a man of the people, kind of.
Okay, this is like a small part. A shepherd took pity on the infant who was adopted by King Polybus of Corinth and his wife, and was brought up as their son. In early manhood, Oedipus visited Delphi, and upon learning that he was fated to kill his father and marry his mother, he resolved never to return to Corinth. Traveling towards Thebes, he encountered Laus, who provoked a quarrel in which Oedipus killed him. Continuing on his way, Oedipus found Thebes plagued by the Sphinx, who put riddle to all passerby and destroyed those who could not answer. Okay.
Yeah,
you can continue.
So finds his way in the city somehow, and then stuff happens. And I didn't know that he found out about his destiny before it happens. Interesting. But he
thought about his parents, like who raised them instead of biological parents.
Real. Somehow he's in a not very busy place. Like part of the woods, the mountains or something, and he comes across this guy, and this guy fights him for something. I don't know exactly how it goes down, but he kills this guy, not knowing that this guy is anyone important.
Who
comes back to the city. Oh yeah, the guy provoked him something. Comes back to the city, finds a wife, has children with this wife, and then there's this whole citywide debacle about like the king is missing. The king is missing. Somebody killed the king. We don't know who killed the king. So Oedipus is like, I will find who killed this king, and he goes on this very long journey. Turns out he killed the king. He's the one who killed his father. So destiny has come true. The wife that he has found is his mother. He has married and had incest babies with his mom.
Mother. Let's not say mom.
Real. With his mother.
Close. Too intimate.
And then does he kill himself?
No.
I don't know where that came from. But that's the story of Oedipus. And now we talk, I think, a lot today about like Oedipus complex, and when Freud in like early 1900s is talking about Oedipus still. What was Oedipus's
complex
daughter's name that starts with an A that there's also a bunch of stories about? We were talking about this the other day.
Oh, I forgot her name all the time.
It's not Anastasia.
No, it's not Anastasia. I know why you're saying that, but it's not her.
But just, oh gosh, the Greek stories, they're grand. They're very grand stories. It was a good exercise for us to turn to turn just like a simple story into something that could be as grand to be seen at the Dionysus Festival.
Antigone. No.
Oh, Antigone.
Antigone.
So then Antigone's dad is Oedipus. That's crazy to me. I would like to know more about like if some of those famous tales are as interconnected.
They all are. I mean, after her father blinded himself upon discovering...
That's what he does.
Upon discovering that Jocasta was his mother, and that also unwittingly he had slain his father. Antigone and her sister Ismene served as Oedipus's guides, following him from Thebes into exile until his death near Athens. Returning to Thebes, they attempted to reconcile their quarreling brothers, blah blah blah, who was defending the city and his crown. Okay.
Yeah. Wild.
Not interested anymore. Antigone, moved by love for her brother and convinced of the injustice of the command bird. Okay. Oh! Because remember, they didn't have to bury her brother who betrayed like the government and stuff. So they didn't have to bury him. But she's like, no, I'm gonna bury him anyway. So she did.
And she's banished.
And then like it says that blah, 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 blah. For that she was ordered by Creon to be executed and was immured in a cave where she hangs herself.
Have you ever seen, Dasha, any of these like great stories in modern day theater?
Well, people kill themselves?
No, but any of these stories, like, because Antigone has been, shown. I'm sure these stories have been. I haven't seen any of them.
You mean like in person?
Yeah.
Oh, like the play put up? Oh. I don't remember. I think I might.
I'd be very interested to see how we take, like, modern day takes on these very grand
It's a really
stories.
good question. I don't
People
remember.
see Shakespeare all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we see more of this? I don't know. Maybe it's also been, like, overdone in history so much that it's, like, at this point, it's just so redundant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, grand stories. But this homework assignment that we had, great exercise in, like, understanding how grand everything had to be. So the reason we talked about Thespis, like, briefly, but there used to be these competitions that were held at all of these festivals where, like, the best play would win, and Thespis was the first guy to win that award, and that's why,
For, like, he did the solo in chorus, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said he was the first actor. Greek theater.
Mm-hmm.
After that, let's just, before we jump to the next thing, how the theater died for some time.
Yeah, so theater died. I'm trying to find dates here.
So they were like different religious, not wars, but kind of wars. They were like trying to figure out are they Catholic, are they not Catholic, and then the Catholic Church, if I'm not wrong, banned theater.
Yeah, well, because it was getting too salacious. It was getting too haughty and sexual and just crazy, because that's what it started as.
Exactly.
But yeah, so, and that's a couple centuries into AD, after Christ was born. That's all happening. Yeah, so theater, essentially, there's no, like, it was still happening in small communities, but we have no written work. We have no proof of theater
Maybe
existing.
somewhere we do. It's just not like...
It's not popular.
Yeah.
For like 400 years.
Yeah.
Theater goes dark, pretty much.
Yeah. And then guess where it rebirths?
England.
In church.
In the church.
Where
in
it got
England.
banned to the first place.
But it starts again with the quam quertus, which is very specific. Latin for whom do you seek? The first play they do is about women coming to Jesus's tomb. And pretty much this all happened because they were like, it's getting really boring watching these priests
worshiping,
preach.
Yeah.
they wanted to like watch people tell stories again, and so
they were like, oh, our teacher actually said, what would be more interesting if I'm telling you the story, or you see like the whole play about how the story was developed or like explored? Of course, the whole play. Of course, we're actors. Oh yeah.
So it happens, it gets started up in the church again, and then gets kicked out of the church again, because once again it starts getting too much about sex and naughty things.
For some reason it's hard to avoid sex on stage.
I know. People just really want to have sex on stage for some reason.
Maybe it was the only place where they could,
Interesting.
I'm not just guessing.
Yeah. But it gets banned again for like another 400 years. And then it moves into towns, squares. It's no longer, when it's rebirthed again after that another dark period, it moves into town squares. Yeah, Times Square. And then there's the town of York for specifics that starts it. So now this is in history of theater class right now, that the assignment we have now
is to we are divided into like two groups in our class.
Sure.
It doesn't matter, and we have to put on Catholic theater.
Catholic theater, which is what was being done in.
Basically, it's Bible stories from the Bible that are turned into like short plays.
Yeah.
Not hard, not simple, somewhere in between.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's theater history class, what we're learning about that. But yeah, then we move into...
But in our other class, styles. Yes, right now we have styles. We learn about different also time periods and how people acted in that period, and actually not only acted as people but also performed on stage as actors, which is really cool. And we learned in the first half of the semester about Commedia dell'arte, which we're going to talk about a bit later. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But yeah, that was happening in like 1400s. Commedia was happening in Commedia
dell'arte
was happening in 1400s. What's interesting, we haven't talked about Kabuki theater at all. You know about Kabuki theater?
Chinese?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that in classes, but it's also very interesting to me. It
still lives, if I'm not wrong. Like the tradition still lives.
The tradition still goes on. Everything is just, it gets really back into masks again. Something that our technique and scene study teacher Drew said that I find interesting amongst all of this is like the idea of being an actor was very mentorship like, which we don't really view it as now. Now it's very like what can you bring to the table? How do you find yourself through this practice? But it used to be very much, how does this person do it? That's the right way to do it. And I will learn and copy exactly what that is. After Commedia,
right now, we are learning Molière. We are learning French neoclassicism, which was born... neoclassicism, yeah.
I think it's neoclassicism.
Neoclassicism.
I can't say it. I don't know. It stresses me out to say it. Neoclassicism?
Neoclassicism. Yeah, neoclassicism. Neoclassicism sounds like you're like hiccups or something. Neoclassicism. So it started, obviously, classicism started in Italy first. But then French, there was like 100-year war and...
religious wars.
Black
Protestants
Death.
Versus Catholics.
Yes. Religious wars, yes. And the plague, the Black Death. So everything came to France a little bit later than to Italy. And of course, that's why France was inspired. Let's say it was inspired by a lot of Italy, like Renaissance and stuff. So neoclassicism started developing in, I think it was 1700s? No, 1600s? 1600s?
Yeah,
1600s, because
1650s.
Molière was baptized in 1622, January 15th.
Oh, excuse me.
In France, in Paris.
Excuse me, that's real specific.
Really specific. I don't know why I know this.
But yeah, this was during the time when Louis the... again, this is the most I've ever learned about history. I feel so educated.
Same.
Yeah, Louis the 15th was happening...
14th.
Cultural 15th?
14th.
Shit, really? Wow.
I think 14th.
But yeah, so like cultural ideals were like so beautiful.
Yeah,
also men, let's come back to men being drama queens. Men were showing off their calves and like, hey ladies, look at my calves.
So just like talking a little bit about Louis XIV. So how how Molière started and how he started neoclassicism and stuff. Louis XIV was the longest monarch in history.
I think in
Europe.
France.
No,
is it in France? History?
Well, I thought it was just let's talk about France again. Sure. In France, for sure, he became a king at the age of 4, which is
ego.
Imagine how big, how huge your ego. And when you're a king, there is no one can tell you, be grounded.
Let's bring it down a notch.
Yeah.
And huge ego. And when he gets to the age where he's able to like make decisions, he's like, you know what? Nobody else is actually allowed to make any decisions at all about anything. I'm all of the nobles. I have
great calves.
Yeah. He has great calves. He loved fashion.
Does he though? Let me show you how he looks. I'm not gonna.
He said that he was. He was the Sun King.
Yeah, they called him the sun.
And what was the Greek god?
Apollo. He said he looks like he's Apollo,
which is the god of beauty. And look at this guy.
Well,
He's not that attractive. And when this is before cameras, so when duh. Actually, I didn't know that. When we were learning, I had a very skewed idea of history. I thought cameras have been around for much.
That's why you need timeline.
Yeah, that is why I need the timeline. That's probably, you're right. Timeline's important. But there were just paintings in order to memorialize people and places and historical events. And so he was probably like, hey, make me look more handsome than he did in real life. Look at this guy.
Look at this dude. Yeah.
Wigs, outfits, corsets.
Probably ton of shit.
Blush.
Like, around. So you know why they had like big skirts and heels? You know why? Do you think?
For their waist?
No, because they would pee and shit themselves.
Constantly?
And so they don't want to step on it. And to hide it. Well, that's what I heard. I don't know how actually true it is, but it would make sense.
That would make sense.
Imagine just the smell of it all the time. But okay, so Louis XIV, he noticed this guy Jean Baptiste or Molière.
Jean Baptiste.
And so which is actually, by the way, Molière was older than Louis XIV. And Louis was like, okay, you know what? I think I like you, so you will write plays for me, and also I will act in your plays. Mm-hmm. Imagine our presidents act. Imagine Ukrainian president act. Yeah. And he would like dance ballet.
Yeah, ballet is super popular at the time.
And also tennis courts, yes. By the way.
They used to have theater on tennis courts.
Because they were like, okay, well, we have this amazing, great space. Why don't we put plays right here? And that's what they did. And they did.
And it's so funny to me. Yeah, like that's been a very kind of repeated fact in our studies at NYFA. What do you think? Do you think they took the net down? How do you think they put plays on? Do you think they built sets around the net? Do you think they just like...
They were just playing ball while telling
Do you think
their
that
lines.
I was thinking about that too. Do you think they incorporated tennis into...
like volleyball, not tennis. I don't know. Well, this is Molière. If you want to see how Molière looked, this is Molière. This is... He was really short. His mother died when he was 10 years old. His father was like, doing, like, he was suing, right? A lot of stuff, or I might be completely wrong about this. But his father, I know for sure, he was working with a lot of royalty. So Molière was in those circles for like, from the beginning of his life, basically. And then
sent to prison a couple times because he took out a lot of money to help put his plays on and couldn't pay it back. His father made furniture for the royal people. That's what his father did. He was super educated for somebody who wasn't of a super high class, and that's why he was able to write these kind of incredible plays. So what his plays were about. Lots of stuff about morality. But these are neoclassical ideas, so more than just like theater at that time. This is like what culture was at that time.
By the way, Molière was like ruining a lot of those rules. Like in his plays, there were rules of neoclassical, like 5-act structure, please and teach. What else was there?
I'm forgetting. That's why I have my notes.
I'm also forgetting.
The ideal,
there are like 5 main or like 6. Yeah. So like there were main neoclassicism ideas, and Molière was kind of following them, but also not really.
He learned the rules well enough to be able to break them.
Exactly,
is my understanding.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think so. That's why. So okay, another cocktail fact. How our Drew said, Shakespeare is number 1 author to be produced. Molière of all time.
And Molière's second.
Crazy. Which is crazy, yeah.
Because I've
never seen his plays.
I've never even heard of this, honestly. And I, in high school, I took theater all 4 years through high school, and I think maybe that's why I brought up kabuki too, because I remember we studied kabuki pretty heavily, and then we studied commedia pretty heavily, but we did get into this. So in your past, have you had this brought up for you, Molière?
Yeah, and when I was in Ukrainian film school, we definitely learned. Well, we learned Shakespeare, we learned Moliere, but it wasn't like right now. Like we have several classes on Moliere. Like we learned his biography and stuff. I knew Tartuffe, the play that we were reading at NYFA here, and the play that I read in Ukraine. And again, honestly speaking, I didn't read the whole play in Ukraine, Tartuffe. Like we read some parts of it. We talked about the way he wrote. We talked about his biography, and like we were learning about Moliere in our classes in school in general, like cool. Jean-Baptiste and stuff. Like we knew, I know, my parents know who he is. It's just like cool. common knowledge, I guess.
Interesting.
In our history classes and like literature, because again, we read his things in literature, foreign literature classes. But I've never like studied him like the same way. Yeah, the specifics. Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I have those ideals that we were just talking about in here.
But anyway, there were some of them. And Tartuffe is the play that we're working on right now.
Which does, I think, absolutely discuss morals. It's a good play.
It's okay.
It's for being my only Moliere piece that I know of him.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good play. It's about... interesting to me. Okay, so people back then, and still today, but like it was super popular for like nobles and royal families if you had the money to have like a kind of godlike figure in your house, or somebody that can like enhance your spiritual well-being consistently, and that would like live in with you. Like you would maybe have a cook with you. You would also have, I don't know how a word for it, but a spiritual guide with you.
Oh, yeah.
And so Tartuffe is about a family, a noble family, who has Tartuffe, this person living in with him, but Tartuffe is kind of manipulating this family the whole way along and taking their riches and everything, and justice happens at the end. But yeah.
Yeah, we're working on Tartuffe right now, which is interesting play, but I really like this style because we learned how they walked, how they talked, how they dressed, and it's real. I love that period of time. It's my favorite.
Yeah, and like in all of history.
Definitely.
Wow.
I would really love to play. Okay, well maybe from 1600s to 1800s. This is like my favorite fashion, and not fashion, but like the whole style overall of the period. But of course, I'm talking about like noble people that were close to the king, queen. Sure.
Yeah. I think we don't really talk much of that time about people that we're not of higher class.
By the way, they're okay, so there are a concept of styles. Let's talk about it. Time, space, place, structure, values, beauty, sex, recreation. Oh, great. 8. Yeah. So all those styles were in every... Like we talking about these concepts of styles about every period of time, and in neoclassicism, their recreation part. So the recreation part is how they entertain themselves. Is basically king would allow people to pay him to watch him doing mundane like things.
Like watch him sleep, watch him
eat,
watch him bathe.
Yeah.
Watch him get up and get dressed in the morning.
And because he would love money. Of course, he would love to take money from people instead of
and he
giving
loved,
people.
This is also why he wanted to act and perform. He was such an attention
He wanted to be watched.
I wonder if he was a Leo.
Let's see.
I would love to know
that. Louis 14 moon and rising. Zodiac sign. Virgo.
Oh, so close.
Astrological article and chart. Okay, interesting. So he is... Okay, Sun, Gemini, Moon, Sagittarius. Wait, what?
Well, why
no, it's not... Wait, stop. Forget. Please, God. Fucked up. Yes, his Sun is Virgo. His Moon is Leo.
Knew it.
I'm Leo Moon.
I'm Leo
I like
Sun.
to be watched. No, I don't. I'm completely joking.
No, but that is interesting because...
He's rising.
Yeah, ascendant.
Scorpio.
Interesting. I don't know much about Scorpios, honestly.
I know a lot about Scorpios. My 2 parents are Scorpios. My ex-boyfriend is Scorpio. My friends are Scorpios. I have a lot of Scorpios.
I can only think of like a couple people I've known that are Scorpios.
So, anyway, Virgo.
But in terms of like, if we want to get into astrology a little bit, moon rules the emotions.
How people act when they feel comfortable alone.
Eating food. Okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about astrology for a minute.
Okay.
Listen, if you don't believe in astrology, that's fine. I'm not going to force you, but I'm going to talk to you about why I think it's good. And also, like, the internet and social media has really ruined, like, what the kind of core basis of astrology is. It's turned it into, like, if you're, like, a Leo, if you're one of these 12 signs, that means you're exactly like every other person who is like that. And it's just, that's such a farce of it. You are the only person that has ever been born in the exact place and time that you were born in. And the way that the planets were arranged around you in that exact place and time is unique to you. And if we, as humans, the moon affects our tides, our gravity, affects animals. If we are so arrogant to think that it doesn't affect us, I think it's...
again, moon affects water. We are 70% out of water or something.
So we're just supposed to throw that to the edge.
We are werewolves. Sorry.
I always wanted to be
I didn't want to out you out.
Gosh, Dasha. What was I talking about? But yeah, and so the relationship that and with astrology, every person's chart falls within 12 different houses that have 12 different planets that have 12 different signs. So like that's 12 times 12 times 12, which is a lot. And like the relationship between all of that is unique to you. And it's not like it's like a rule book like in other forms of spirituality, the Bible. It's kind of viewed, I think, more as like here's a little bit of a rule book. And I haven't read the Bible, so this is not me making any claims on that or like Quran, other things like that. It's like, I think of astrology like a cheat code. It's like if you pick up on something that resonates with you, take that as an indicator for who you are and how you live your life, and leave what doesn't resonate with you. So the moon in terms of astrology rules emotions, and he was a Leo.
He was a Leo. You know who's Leo?
So funny.
You know who's Moon Leo?
A lot of actors, a lot of performers.
Which makes sense. A lot of people with trauma. Unhealed trauma, let's say.
That's funny though, and he was a Gemini rising and Virgo sun? Scorpio rising Gemini.
He's Virgo sun.
Okay.
Well, it says that his moon is either Leo, Scorpio, Virgo, Leo.
Because they have the exact
So
time.
probably Leo. Knowing his life, probably Leo.
That makes sense to me.
But at the same time, moon is something that we act, right, if I'm not wrong, when we feel more comfortable, when we are alone, when it's like not our mask, but like what is behind this mask. But he was acting like that publicly.
Also got to think about his ego. Like,
you're
imagine
right,
you're being told from the age of 4.
Yeah,
you're a king and you rule everything.
Yeah.
What does that do to a person's psyche? Like, I don't know. I just would assume that everything that they think or do is right. Also, interesting fact about Louis. He was Catholic, right?
Yes.
And he was kind of part of the reason why the religious wars ended. Because he was like, I'm Catholic, but Protestants are chill too. And he was like super promoting of his religion, but he also was like very open and proud about the fact that he slept with many women.
And not only women.
And not only women, and engaged in a wide array of nefarious activities. And theater still was not like super promoted at this time. It was still
I think it was. It's not about being promoted, I guess. It's more about, like, it's there. It was happening. Like, there were playwrights, Shakespeare, because already was happening.
But it wasn't respected by the church.
I don't want to lie about that. I don't know.
There's something that is coming that I'm remembering. Maybe. But he was promoting...
Because they had, like, this big theater building, remember? In France? I don't know.
Oh, gorgeous.
I don't remember. Do we have it in class? Google Classroom.
It's something with the word comedy in it. The Comédie France. The Comédie France. Comédie Française?
Ask him if he knows French.
Comédie française. Excuse me, monsieur.
Well, this part that I'm showing my classroom, you don't have to put it.
Comment tu t'appelles?
Experience of being true or real, truth seeming what could be expected in real life. Because this is the first time when we don't have masks in the theater. Because we skipped the commedia part because we're going to talk about it a bit later. Yeah. But in Greek theater, there were a lot of masks for different reasons. And neoclassicism was known for actual faces of actors on stage. Yeah.
And bringing in more true human qualities rather than these very large, extorted versions of human life.
This Comédie Française.
Comédie Française. Oh,
this is like this.
Still standing.
Yeah.
This, what just came to mind, is completely kind of like a side topic. But it's about buildings. It's about Roman architecture. And so I saw this video the other day that was talking about how they made concrete in Roman times. And like how there's multiple different types of rock, and we used to think until very recently that like we didn't understand how it was made because like Roman structures are so strong and still standing. There's a certain type of rock that's in it, of one of the many rocks inside, that what?
I'm still standing.
Real? That when water seeps into the cracks of it, the rock like latches onto it and it makes the rock stronger. So over time those buildings are just getting stronger and stronger. We're like modern day, and like 400 years from now all of these structures are not gonna last. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Side fact that I just learned.
Cool. And you also mentioned in our class how architecture was part of art.
Yes, like when we research this stuff, it's part. It's an art form.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But now it's industrial.
Yeah.
Rather than artistic.
Yeah. Oh, we also talked about the Medicis family. We also talked about French Renaissance. Yeah, we talked about Comédie Française, the French Academy, Hotel. Okay, we don't need to talk about everything that we learned.
No, we don't. But how he died was interesting too. I would love to die the way that Molière died. He didn't. He collapsed on stage while acting out one of his plays, The Imaginary Invalid. Collapsed on stage, and he I guess he didn't die on stage.
What means collapse? Explode?
Fall, pass out.
Okay.
And be unconscious.
Okay.
Collapse on stage. He didn't die there. He died later, but yeah, I think that's interesting. I would like to die that way.
I don't know if I don't know, on stage, publicly, it's kind of embarrassing, no?
Yeah, but that's cathartic.
True.
But without being like, killing slaves and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about Molière, and we can talk
about film?
A little bit about film or about Stanislavski and Chekhov.
Oh, okay.
And how Stanislavski basically created, not created, but kind of created a new way of approaching theater and approaching plays and character, and how Chekhov, his student,
we haven't, like, in NYFA, everybody talks about Stanislavski, everybody talks about Chekhov, but nobody has really, like, sat down and taught us the kind of step-by-step history of it, I guess. So I don't know about some of that. I just know about, like, how he's influenced a lot of the other kind of mothers and fathers of
Stella Adler, for example, is basically Stanislavski, but in a more modern language.
Okay.
What I do love about Stanislavski is that he created theater rules, and he created theater discipline, and I really respected his way to approach it, because theater became even more serious because of his input.
When was he?
Okay, you know what we should do? We should save it for the next part.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's talk about who you would take to Dionysus Festival.
3 actors that I would want to see in a Dionysus Festival.
Sure.
Steve Buscemi.
Steve?
Buscemi.
Got it. Why? Why him?
Because I think I would want to see him in a comedic play. I think even in, like, modern acting, he's so, like, he's not, this is no shade, he's not the most visually appealing person, And I think that a lot of like actors, like,
he's okay.
It's a thing about being pretty, and I think that has never like necessarily been his main.
Sorry, I'm just. I love internet.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I didn't. I just looked it up.
I just think he would really lean into like some of that satire stuff. I think he'd really get. Oh my god, why is this a thing?
I have no idea.
It's beautiful.
Because probably you are not the only one who loves Steve Buscemi.
Real.
and who wanted to see him somewhere.
Steve Buscemi as the Disney princesses. That's funny. That's really funny. That's great.
Yeah, that's
beautiful.
Also cool.
Yeah. Yes. Eat it up, Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. Well, I could see them now there being, and he could play a woman also probably.
Yeah, I guess.
Right in Dionysus Festival.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, second one.
No, you say who would you be your first one? I have to think still.
Let me be interesting. Let me tell you something cool. You know what? You know who I wouldn't like to see there?
Okay, sure. Who you would
Denzel.
want? You wouldn't want to see Denzel?
Yeah, and you know why?
Why?
Because I think he would ate that up.
Gosh, Denzel.
I want someone cool. I want someone who would be like...
So I guess we can't pick women because women wouldn't have performed?
I mean, why not? I would probably, from women, I would pick... Who do I like? Who do I don't like? You know what? It's a hard question.
Who was the chick who was in The Apartment?
Oh, I spelled it wrong, sorry.
Like, I'm forgetting her name, but her sonography is like super...
There's Shirley
MacLaine?
Yeah, Shirley MacLaine. The Apartment, yeah, Children's Hour. Oh, she was in the Children's Hour.
I just think that she would be good for, she has a face that I could see, like, for tragedy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really more of the look for it, because I haven't, and her sonography is, like, it's vast. Mm-hmm. She goes a lot of places with it, and, like, in general, I value a person who can do a lot of things, and I think that she could carry. I think that she could carry.
I don't have any ideas, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I like my 2 picks so far.
Okay, let's do quickly third one.
Yeah, quickly third one.
Marilyn Monroe. I know. They would make her dirty.
They would make her dirty.
So no Marilyn Monroe. Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler as
Ben Affleck and
Matt Damon
and his boyfriend.
Oh, it's a cool Hollywood friendship.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know.
I think it is a cool Hollywood friendship. They've been friends since they were like children.
Yeah, these dudes.
Those guys.
I could see them in Dionysus. I could definitely see them in Dionysus.
Absolutely. Big, strong, strapping gentlemen.
Definitely. Yeah. Dionysus. Okay, let's stop here.
Cool.
Let's pause here. Well, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us during part 1.
And learning.
Part 2, it's gonna be about... You'll see. You'll see what it's gonna be about.
Yeah.
So...
If you want to learn about Comedia...
and our humor. Stick with us.
Stick around.
Lottery and our social medias are there, and see you soon.
Thank you. Do you want to clap it?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.